Republicans say they're satisfied with 2020 election security after classified briefings. Congressional Republicans are expressing confidence that the 2020 elections will be secure, despite strong protests from Democrats that more needs to be done. House and Senate members received separate classified briefings from senior administration officials on Wednesday, during which the plans for securing the 2020 elections were outlined in the wake of Russia's extensive interference ahead of the 2016 vote. House Minority Whip Steve Scalise of Louisiana told reporters, Senior Lindsey Graham they. While none of the administration officials involved spoke with the press, several lawmakers confirmed that they said during the closed-door meetings they didn't need additional legislation or extra funding from Congress. House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Benny Thompson D.M.S. told reporters, Thompson's counterpart on the committee, Ranking Member Mike Rogers of Alabama, added that the briefing election security legislation has been stalemated for months on Capitol Hill amid a standoff between House Democrats and Senate GOP leadership. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky has opposed theyre. Senate Rules Committee Chairman Roy Blunt RMO, who has primary new. Trying to bring up legislation could put Republicans at odds with Trump, who they've warned conflates concerns about election meddling with questioning his 2016 White House win. Trump has touted his administration's efforts to secure the 2020 vote, vowing in 2018 that were. But Democrats in both chambers pushed back against Republican confidence over the issue. Interference. Senate Intelligence Committee Vice Chairman Mark Warner D. Virginia added that, if Republic Stephanie Murphy the members were briefed by Director of National Intelligence Daniel Coates, Acting Secretary of Homeland Security Kevin McAleenan, FBI Director Christopher Wray, U.S. Cyber Command Chief and National Security Agency Director General Paul Nakasone. Though House Democrats have been passing a myriad of election security legislation since taking over in January, they've run directly into a Senate buzzsaw, where Democrats are unable to pass legislation on their own. A few key Republicans broke ranks and endorsed passing additional election security legislation. House Administration Committee Ranking Member Rodney Davis of Illustrated told reporters, Senior Marco Rubio
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park, pot.